Hey, welcome back. This is the Jared and Brian show.
Jared.
I'm Brian. Here we are.
Boom. This is lucky number 7.
It's a lucky thing, I guess.
So as like a
It's one more than 6.
celebratory thing, we're just gonna wrap on some weekly events, dude.
We're just
What's
gonna
going
go over
on
some
right
things
now?
that we saw, and we're gonna figure it out together.
Yeah, well, no, I don't. We did a little. There's some research as well.
Mild.
I made 3
I think
Google
the show is
searches.
better for the shooting the shit about the shit than too much factual stuff.
What do you
I could
guys
be wrong.
think?
I
Do
don't
you
fucking
want to
know.
hear shooting the shit or factual? I mean, we could be shooting factual
Well,
shit.
it's both. That's
We're
it.
shooting
We're
facts.
not shooting the shit about nothing. So anyway, one thing we wanted to brush up on was the Johnson and Johnson suit that just
Damn,
happened.
bro, you went into like news anchor
We're
mode
going-
super
we're going.
quick,
Well,
bro.
'cause
It was
this
like,
is-
no. It's the one thing we wanted to touch
This
on.
is near and dear to my heart
Was-
because I feel that they're
wash
all
your hair with
crooks.
it or
No,
what?
they're all crooks. I hate
Okay.
to just jump so black and white.
Rewind. Okay, what's Johnson and Johnson? Who are they? What's happening?
So why I think they're crooks is because I think all medical companies just fuck the people. It's not really about helping them. So and they make money on treating it, not curing it. Never forget that. That's the business. So here's the deal with Johnson and Johnson. They basically contract 60% of the opiates.
Bro, I thought they made baby shampoo.
They do a lot of stuff. Johnson and Johnson. Well, there's Johnson and Johnson, and then Jensen. There's like a third one.
Johnson's.
Johnson's?
Regardless, so you're talking not about the no-tier baby shampoo, Johnson.
It's
and
the
Johnson.
same. Well, they're all. It's okay. So once
So
you get
their-
big enough,
their
once you get
umbrellas-
big enough, it's
They got
you
branches.
You cover
I
a
feel
lot
it.
of shit.
So they're making opiates.
So here's the deal. They
Word.
have contracts with poppy growers in Tasmania, and 60% of the world's drugs that use opiates.
Where is that?
Shit, I want to say I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing, so we're just.
You wanted to say you don't know?
I wanted to say something, and then I decided not to say anything because I feel again
My
we talked
deep-
about this before. The pressure. I feel like if I say the wrong thing, it's there forever, man.
I would have just said possibly.
Yeah, but if
You
it's
made it
not,
sound like
then
you
what's
want to seem like you don't know. But I guess that's admirable.
I
That's
think
respectable.
It's
okay?
cool to be honest.
So
man. the
Tasmania-
truth will set you free. So anyway,
Location
here's the deal.
TBD.
Well, I mean, just look it up, dude. If you're probably watching this on your phone, just pause it and look it up, or look it up after. It'll be fun.
I could
So-
have looked it up already. My bad.
So here's the deal. All the drugs that use opiates come mostly from this company. Not
Can
all,
you give
but
us some
60%.
examples? What kind of
Like
I'm not too-
oxys basically.
Oxycontin?
Yeah, oxycodone and things
Codone?
like that. Anyway, the doctors were being sold the idea. Okay, so here's the deal. Johnson and Johnson was basically saying that these companies that are making these drugs are safe, and that these opiate drugs like oxy or whatever are safe for you as a doctor to sell or prescribe, and it's safe for your patients to take and effective, but they're not, and it's caused an epidemic. And what happened, and this is why it's a big deal, this is the first ever lawsuit of a drug company or someone who makes painkillers responsible for it. And they were sued for, they aimed to get $17 billion, but they got 572 million. So it was a short drop, but 572 million is a lot for any company. You know, it's a hit anyway. It's not a win, but it's something. The reason
They'll
it's a win
inflate
is
the
because
prices to the insurance companies.
well, the reason
Because
it's a
that's
win
really
is
who
because it
pays a lot of
opens
it.
it up. Now that this has happened immediately, I was reading that there's over 2,000 separate plaintiffs that lawyers are fighting for on similar.
It's like a class
Account.
action lawsuit.
It's now starting other things, but for other companies. There was another company I read right before I got here that already said that they'll just give 13 billion to we're just going to give it to you. Just don't keep pushing us for whatever. So it's something, and I think that that's cool because I do think that these companies are not for the people. I don't think that that's anything that they're going for. But anyway, so that's the deal.
You know, it'd be cooler
What?
if the people that got that, because let's be honest, you took the drugs, you got hooked on them, your doctor said they were good. Okay, if you're living in a delusional world where no one else is able to give you any kind of information, it's almost like Scientologists aren't able to go on the internet because then you'll realize that this is kind of possibly crazy to the outside world. Just let me finish though.
Okay.
So if you're the kind of person that really thinks my doctor says this is good for me, but then everyone else in the world, there's an opioid epidemic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it isn't like a secret that this shit's killing people. It's obvious. I don't think you deserve to get paid for that. I think that, you know what, you should be happy that you got off
That's
of it.
not what
And
it's for. That's
oh,
not
what
what
is
it's
it
for.
for?
So the money is the reason they wanted 17 billion is because they're trying to reverse. They said it'll take 20 years to reverse this opioid epidemic, and it'll cost, it was something like 800 million a year. So for the next 20 years, it would be
For
17
what, like
billion.
rehab, I would hope, right?
All sorts of things. Yeah, rehab
Okay,
helps.
I
It
thought
helps your case,
I thought
but
it was a class action lawsuit where people were getting paid like out of like people were getting paid an amount because they're suing a company for
I
telling
can
them that
see
I should
that,
pay
and that
this.
might even be in there. But why not? I mean, we all know that morphine is bad or something, but they give you morphine when you go to the
I think
hospital.
I would just say maybe like I was gonna say, which it looks like it's happening. The majority of that money should go towards rehab facilities because anyone that's ever
It's to help the epidemic.
there you go. Well, but what does that really mean? The lawyers are gonna eat up
Look it up.
33% of it.
Well, they're going to get a piece. They're definitely going to get a piece. But they wanted 17 billion to take care of the next 20 years, and they said it would take about 800 for just 1 year. So this is only a year's worth of. But that's not why I think it's great. I think it's great because now that this happened, it opens up the floodgates for more of these companies to have that happen to them, and maybe they change what they do a little bit. Maybe not much, but a little bit, just for the people's sake.
I doubt
for
it.
fuck's sake.
My dad. I mean,
We'll see what
I'd
happens.
hope so, right? But I feel like at the end of the day, this might be a good look for them because what they can now do, raise money on things, raise the prices on their medications. Because in actuality, insurance companies are paying for this stuff. And then the insurance companies maybe could get a shitload more money going
But
through.
that's the scheme. That's the scheme. I'm
So
a
it's
doctor.
all a scheme,
I,
right?
I prescribe this to you because
just
I
don't
know
know
that your insurance
how
will
big of
pay
a
for it.
deterrent-
It's all of this.
How big of a deterrent is it for the company? How big of a setback is it really for that company? Like,
Not much, but that's not the point. The
The
issue is that
deterrent?
it has started. The
yeah,
issue is that it's
that's a
something
good
that
thing.
has started. That's not a bad thing.
it's a good thing.
It's a good thing, and I think it's cool that we're talking about it. Hopefully, somebody else will think it's a good thing. Do some research, or maybe it's
So
something.
are they still
help.
selling opioids or?
Yeah, that's not gonna stop.
That's unfortunate. Yeah.
That's pretty rough, dude. It's crazy. I mean, if someone gets in a motorcycle accident or something crazy, and then they're prescribed something and it helps them, but then they get hooked on it. I think that there's a better way to do it, and it sounds like these people already knew. The people making the drug, they knew that they were making it a certain way, and maybe they could have relaxed on certain components to it. I don't know. I'm not a person who makes drugs
That's
like that.
unfortunate.
So I
I
don't
get,
know.
and it takes me back to like we did an episode about some mushrooms. I'm sure we've talked about marijuana on the show, but it is unfortunate that there's things that grow that are illegal that could probably offer people a lot of the same benefits that a lab is concocting a pill to give to someone that gets them addicted, and
Yeah,
it ultimately leads to a scenario where there's $575 million a year going to help something.
opium has been used forever and will probably be used forever, just like hemp or shrooms or any of that shit or alcohol, any of this stuff. Like, it's just
Yeah,
how
but-
it's used, really.
Yeah, I think most of those things are like ritualistically used as opposed to like making people take them every day, twice a day, getting them hooked on them. I mean, I think that's a negative. And also, what is in those pills? Is there something else in pills to like get you more addicted?
I don't even take Tylenol. I don't take any pills at all. I just don't think the pills are that great for you. If you're gonna
Yeah.
do something, have some fun with it. But I mean, things like ibuprofen and stuff, like these originate from like what is it, like a rat killer? I don't know. I used to take care of my grandma, and they would give her these drugs to thin the blood, which is a counter reactant to another drug she had to take. She would take a drug for one thing, and then it would thicken her blood so that she would have to take this blood thinner, which originally was created in the 50s as a rat poison because it would thin their blood till they died. And then you got to take another pill for that, and it's just a rabbit hole of taking shit. I feel that there's a better way. And these people are my grandma was in this case. She's like in her fucking 80s. Some people can't handle it, That's rough.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound like a solution.
so it is a good thing. I agree with you. I'm excited that we talked about it. So hopefully this is just the first domino in a domino effect.
We're knocking them over, bro.
Let's do it.
One thing I did want to say about this, and I'm just reading this because I thought this was interesting. The way that it happened, the way that they were sued is they said Johnson & Johnson had breached the state's public nuisance laws.
What the hell?
Hey, you know what? All this opium, it's kind of a nuisance, bro. That's
Well,
crazy.
There is a town in Ohio that in over the course of a certain period of time, I don't want to like exact it, but there was a documentary about it. 60,000 people died from
what?
opiates.
Oh shit.
So the whole thing was they were saying like if 60,000 people died in Iraq tomorrow, or next year even, this would be like a crazy thing. This is a terrorist situation. This is a terrifying situation, and they're saying that it would be an epidemic at that point, right? They're not like acknowledging this is an epidemic. The 60,000 people died. As many people that if died anywhere else, it'd be considered a huge, like, we got to figure out how to fix this. Do you know what I'm saying? But like, it's just because it's how things work. Unfortunately, we're in a system that's a capitalist society, and one of the hugest capitalist moves is healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Medicines, keeping people going, keeping people down.
Paying for shit. Hey, do this, and we'll just kick you down a lot of money. We'll donate some shit, and money moves things. You know, it's just how it works. Just like
I think maybe
just like with anything, I guess.
And I'm happy there's a whole movement right now that appears to be more towards the holistic side of things. People are almost looking outside of Western. Eastern medicine would be like stuff coming from like China or like other places.
I
right?
guess it depends on
Is
where
that
you
the
are on
term?
the globe.
Yeah,
For
right.
here, that's what we're saying.
But I think there's like a specific term. But people are getting away from traditional United States medicines and things of that nature to pursue more holistic options, and that's another good thing because there are natural options you could take that would help you out. I don't know if you've already taken opiates, it might not be that intense, but you probably don't need the opiates for more than a few days, right? And people get hooked on them, and that's where the issue is. So I'm glad that people are leaning away from pills like of this nature.
But
Some at least.
to finish, so the public nuisance thing, nuisance. No, I just decided to get defense. So public nuisance laws usually are applied in cases involving roads, waterways, or public areas. Sometimes like a lead paint thing, or like polluted water or air. So it's very interesting that's
because people are taking
the subject.
opiates and they're probably driving like idiots.
That's it.
Like, I mean, well, you just said roadways.
Would you have said that?
Yeah,
They're probably driving like idiots.
Okay, what else are they doing, man? These people can't be going out causing too many more issues, and that all they want to do is go get some opiates and go home.
I don't know. Well, maybe
So
they're
on the way
robbing people
home,
to make more money or something, so they can pay for these prescription pills.
Fair enough. Because I was thinking Johnson & Johnson, more or less like people are going to doctors in order to get Johnson & Johnson pills. So in the black market, yeah, you're right. People are getting robbed. So there's nothing but positivity coming out of this story.
We're going to move on. We're going to chop on to the next one.
Besides the cause of why there's a lawsuit, which is unfortunate. But yeah.
It's terrible. But again, the fact that we're discussing it is a good thing. And hopefully you guys discuss it too. And just keep it going, man. That's how all of this should be. So
if you're addicted, you should quit.
Yeah, or wean your way off. I mean, it's not as easy. I'm that guy
well,
too.
That
was
a super.
Tough.
That was a super.
Tough.
Well, quitting isn't as simple. If you think that's not as simple, you probably never quit anything. I'm just saying that's the first thing, right? If you're addicted, try to quit.
Yeah, and we're here for you. Why
send it. Leave a comment.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Whatever.
Put yourself on blast. We'll help you.
All right. So the next thing we wanted to run on is the Amazon. Why don't you take on some of this?
Yeah, so the Amazon is on fire, and evidently it's been on fire for quite some time. This is in Brazil.
Yeah, and there's like fucking over 70,000 fires going right now.
There's like 72,864 some odd fires going on.
Super
right now.
specific. I like it.
I try, man.
It was good.
You could get exact with numbers. They're one of the few things you could be exact with.
You could. It's possible. But yeah, that's interesting, man, and that's it's not a good thing.
So the whole story, the first time it came to my attention, it was because this rainforest is essentially our Earth's lungs. Consider Earth a living organism. We're a living organism on the Earth. We need oxygen to keep things moving. So these rainforests produce a fair amount. I've heard people say it provides all the world's oxygen. I couldn't say that for fact.
It's a percentage. To be honest, most of the air that we breathe comes from the ocean.
How is that?
I wish I had all the information. There's a chemical in the ocean that most ocean life bases its diet on. Like it's how there's like plankton, and then the plankton are eaten by this and so forth. It's at the very bottom of the chain, and when it's eaten, somehow it releases something. Again, look this shit up. It's crazy, but I always thought it was the rainforest too. But a lot of the air that we breathe comes from the ocean. I'm just throwing that in there. Look this shit up. We should always be asking questions, right? So I just threw it off the rails.
Because water is 1 part hydrogen, 2 parts oxygen. H2O, or is the H2
the hydrogen is
2 hydrogen molecules
1 part
for one part oxygen. So yeah, so the ocean itself is a third water. Air.
Yeah. Look this shit up. That's the whole point of all
this.
You should be doing more
research.
That's
what the name of the podcast
Look that shit up.
Look that shit up. Hey, because I don't know if this is accurate. Look this shit up.
We're just bringing it up.
But
you let us know.
We're hitting you with pretty factual things right now. We're shooting factual shit. So there's over 72,000 fires. We can say this for sure. It produces a fair amount of the world's oxygen, and as of right now, there's not a whole lot of media on it. And some interesting things that I looked into is people are playing the blame game right now. You know, as do you think people always do? Something goes wrong, who's that blame, right?
Dude.
So, and I think it's necessary to a degree, of course.
Sure.
So right now, the two parties that are really being public about who they're blaming is the president of Brazil. He's saying the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, started the fires in protest and to bring more attention to him being however he
That's
is.
a crazy move if something like that.
It's
I've
a
read
crazy
that too.
move.
That's huge.
So that's what the president is saying. What the NGOs are saying is, nah, not our bag, not what we're into necessarily. So we're gonna go ahead and say that the president is doing it, which could be fact, who knows? And because he has a lot of developmental projects that would need deforestation to happen. He can't build houses. He can't just build a bunch of tree houses. You know what I'm saying? He wants to build properties. And at the end of the day, I do get it. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's a need at some point to wipe free some land. I don't see it necessarily because you could build vertically, but to that extent is what I'm getting at. So whether or not one of them is right, I don't know. But that's the story that's being circulated. Is it's possibly the president doing this on purpose?
He's also denying money, so that doesn't help the case. You know, the UN tried to throw money. I believe Israel or one of those. They tried to throw money as well, and he denied it. So that's why would you deny money if it's a disaster, a world disaster? You would assume he would take this.
Yeah.
No matter, even if there's a quarrel.
That means that maybe this happening to some degree benefits him because the money isn't needed. I mean, it could look like that.
Why would it not be needed? You know, and they're saying it takes. They would need up to 20 million just to put it out.
It is crazy to think that, let's say, like you said, I'm gonna look that shit up. That the ocean produces, do you know a number, a percentage, a third?
Most of what we breathe, I believe.
Most of
it was something about
75% of the
Amazon. Like a lot of that oxygen gets used in the Amazon by I don't know, wildlife or something. I don't know. And most
look
forests,
that shit up.
Just look it up, dude. And most of the forests do that, and we do use this. I mean, it all comes in. It's not like the Amazon's here making air, and we just get the ocean air. It all is an encompassing thing. And I believe it's off somewhere in the Pacific. Since the Pacific's so big, I believe it's somewhere in the desert part of it where there's nothing. It's barren. Again, look this shit up. You guys should be doing research too.
Wait, you're talking about the Amazon right now?
No. In the ocean, there are barren parts.
I don't even know what to look up.
Just look up oxygen coming from the ocean.
Well, no, I was talking about the desert. You were just talking
about. No, there's a barren desert under the ocean. Most of the ocean is barren. There's nothing there. Most of it. It's not this beautiful thing like in a fucking Pixar movie. It's just
hey man, there's a lot of beauty in nothingness.
Deep, dude. But in terms of that, there is a lot of nothingness.
Yeah.
And it's in those, I believe, those desert oasis under the water. That's where that life comes from.
So the reason
look it up. I could be wrong.
The reason I bring it up is because if it really does produce that much of the world's oxygen, there got to be more people offering some help. 20 million divided by however many. Well, every person on the planet would have to donate 20 cents.
Well,
no, there's 7.53 billion people.
Right.
If they each donated $1, that'd be let's just say 7 billion. So if they each donated 10 cents, that'd be 700 million. So I mean, realistically,
it's there.
It's there. It
could
way
be done.
lower than
if that's what you're saying, it can be done. I mean, if
just
there's
saying,
a will, there's a way, and if people care, they could put something into it.
It just sounds like if I was in a tribe and the leader was down, and they're like, hey man, the leader needs a surgery, and it costs $10,000. I think everyone in the tribe wants to help, man. And the tribe at this point would be the earth, right? Because it's the rainforest that provides our oxygen.
Yeah, but we're divided. And people aren't working together, and they like to call people out and feel like their labels are important, and that separates people. And when you have something like that, when something happens like this Amazon fire where we could easily come together, we don't. We just sit there and make podcasts about it or complain in the comfort of our home.
It's all about them clicks. That's what people are about these days, bro.
No, it's true. I'm glad you brought it back. I took it to a serious place.
You see a crazy thing happening in the real world, and the first thing a lot of people think is, how can I capitalize off this? There's people selling 9/11 shirts on 9/11 at night. Meaning that day at night, people were selling memorabilia to some
Yeah,
degree.
yeah, yeah.
Which is harsh, man. That's harsh. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
That's like a huge extreme example. But yeah.
Well,
So-
that's humanity. We could pull together,
And, like,
but we
we're-
choose
we're
not to,
crazy.
I suppose.
Because like right now, I've heard like anytime a story comes out, it's like people, oh, it's a diversion, it's not real. Like I just think we're living in a dangerous time, and I think this is information that should be way more publicized, more than likely. Like there's no reason that we don't know way more about this forest fire, or there's not efforts to make it better. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're not pulling together as we could, man.
It's sad, dude.
It's a shame.
I'm sad about it.
Well, we'll move on then.
Yeah, I'm
So-
getting a little bit too sad. But
It's
you know
not,
what?
It's not an easy thing, but addressing it is a good thing. Again, hopefully
Yeah.
we're talking about it and someone else will too now.
Yeah. I think, like in the first episode we ever did, I believe we talked about the human experience and we talked about the internet.
The very first one or the first one of this round?
Because
we filmed one before.
the first
these.
one that anyone watching this would be able to
Okay,
reference, right?
okay.
So the first one that we put up on the channel, we talk about the human experience being dictated by technology a lot, and this is one of those adverse effects.
Mhm.
Like people are so captivated and so taken away by everything else going on in the world that's presented to them and all these things online or whatever that it doesn't seem as important that the oxygen in the world could be depleted right now. There's icebergs that are melting. Although a part of me thinks of course they were gonna melt. You know what I'm saying? They're icebergs.
Not to this extent.
But to the extent that but I'm saying some people may say
It
whatever,
always
but like,
comes
it's
and
pretty,
it goes.
pretty severe.
There's a way it comes down and it goes back up, and we think about things in our small little life reference, but really this is a giant organism that takes millions of years to do things. And ice ages are thousands and thousands of years, but we only know about maybe 60, 70, 80 years. And we try and put them in the same thing. They're just different. We have to think about times different. And so this is something that would eventually happen. But I mean, we're not due to have another ice age for, I believe it's another 50,000 years.
So would that mean that we're not in an ice age? What are we in?
Yeah, no, we're not in an ice age.
We're in a
We're in a
heating
recession.
phase?
Most of the planet usually is in an ice age, I believe. And right now we're in a recession that should last for another. It's been happening for about 20,000 years ish,
Okay.
kind of, and it should happen for about another 50,000 ish, kind of, and then it'll go back to another ice age for a very long time, and that will repeat. That's why I think maybe there were civilizations before the very first ice age. I mean, imagine. I don't know, 100,000 years of this planet being fucked over by ice, and imagine any of our stuff still being around.
There's Eskimos.
There's Eskimos. Case in point.
I feel like humans are resilient. I feel
Exactly.
like we could do it.
I feel
We
like
built
it's been done.
underground
That's what
things,
I'm saying.
yeah.
I feel like we had giant, massive civilizations before, and this is just this one, but we don't think about that. We think that we just came out of nowhere, Stone Age type people out of nowhere building monuments and things. That's crazy.
It actually makes me think. I was having a conversation yesterday, and me and the person were talking about indigenous tribes.
Okay.
And I don't know. Like, I'm curious on what is what's a group of people, what's the least informed group of people on this earth about modern society?
That tribe that kills people, that
Well,
lives in the
okay.
island, you know the one I'm talking
Okay,
about?
okay, so let's talk
There's a
about
few like that.
the one that kills people, the one that lives on the island. What I'm getting, like, I'm saying maybe even less than that, because they at least know that there's people out there that they're killing.
But they didn't up until it was like 100, not even 100 years ago.
So let's say it's them.
But they kill everybody before they ever get there. So they just know people are coming. They kill them before they get there. And then there's no
So, like-
interaction. They don't even bring them water or nothing. It's just, you're dead, bro. And then that's it. They don't know what they came
Take your
for.
shoes off, come in and hang out. Nah, you're dead, bro. So it would be so interesting. It's a weird double-edged sword idea, because it would be very interesting to be able to speak with these people. Let's just say they let you in. They didn't kill you right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? Fair enough. You're inside the village, and they're willing to even
Made it.
entertain talking with you, and you've overcome the obstacle of them probably not understanding you, you not understanding them. Let's say you were able to do that. It would be very cool to see what are the most indigenous people on the planet. What are their belief systems look like? Like, what do they believe in? Do they know? Like,
It's got to be very similar to our primitive beliefs and thoughts,
Well,
and
I feel like there's
within,
a lot
within
of
a line, within a reason.
yeah, but I feel like if they haven't been tainted Because yeah, I mean, I don't know. What is the truth? What is the ultimate belief system that you're talking about? The basic one.
I'm not talking about one. I'm saying the same things. You would see some sort of artwork, something probably to do astronomical.
So what do you think is about primitive?
Primitive?
Yeah.
Well,
So explain primitive.
That's a tough one. That's actually a really good question. I would say in this case, just dude, that's actually a really good one.
Because I would say like
That's hard to-
their information is going to be more based off of sacred
Well, what would
tradition.
you say is primitive?
I mean, I don't know. Primitive would probably be that, like, before people unified.
Are we just saying a lack of technology? Is that what we're thinking is primitive?
I would say primitive is somebody that doesn't plug anything in.
Yeah,
Primitive is
but
somebody
in
that
the mind too. So if we take technology
well,
out, is
primitive
there
in
a
the mind
primitive
would
in
be
the mind?
hunter and gathering.
Right. So are they just that at that point with some culture and art?
So I guess the interesting things to find out from these people would be, what do they consider happiness? Because I feel like we just talked in the beginning about all these people taking opiates. It ain't like all these people got neck injuries and back injuries. A lot of these people are depressed. Do you know what I'm saying? Taking a pill to
Yeah,
be,
it depends on the pill. A
to
lot
be
of
less
pills
than
have
well.
opiates.
What I'm saying is, though, depression is the cause. Opiates are the effect for a lot of people. This is and drug addiction. It's very hard for people to come back from that because the reality on drugs is sometimes better than the reality sober, and that's what keeps people on things, and physiologically as well, right? Regardless, what I'm getting at is like I think they said 17% of people in the United States are happy. You know what I mean? So and like the reasoning is, in my opinion, is our exposure to everything, a feeling of inadequacy, possibly. We live off comparative terms with others.
I think that's the big one.
Social media. I think we talked about all this in the first episode, right? But what I'm getting at is, it'd be interesting to see, like, even I've only been out of the country once to Mexico, and I feel like the happiness level of those people, at least that I talk to, are pretty happy, man. And they don't have half of the things that we probably have access to, but if you have, like I've said before, if you don't know that there's a TV in the room, how do you know you're missing a show? But it'd be interesting to see what kind of value of life they have, what kind of quality of life they have, what is their happiness level, what is their like traditions that they have, because I doubt they have Christmas and fucking whatever.
They have the same types of things. They must have a day that's important.
But it'd be interesting to see why is that day important even. And like also, I guess I'm thinking maybe they go back thousands of years, who fucking knows. But it's crazy to think you having that conversation with that person would ultimately lead to the destruction of what you were so fascinated by.
Yeah.
Because
that's true.
You just introduced them to modern society. Like, or you would be like a folklore. Like, dude. Because the person I was talking to said all you'd have to do is figure out how to steal a book that they wrote. And then you learn everything without having to talk to them. But I said, but what if you asked them for a book? and I went in and I was like, hey, let me get a book and I'll give you like something for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might be folklore dead. It might be like, yeah, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, white flaming men.
White flaming men.
Because got red hair or something, you know, like. But flaming white man come and give us holy. Phone, you know what I'm saying? Like it would just be crazy the impact that would have. And it's like, I don't know, to me it's a bittersweet idea that I think it would be interesting to tap into the knowledge and the insight that they have. But I just thought it was interesting to think that it would completely ruin that.
Well, it would ruin it, and then we would dilute it in some way. We'd
Yeah.
put it on a shelf. It'd be forgotten. We would say it's this or it's that. We would judge it, and it would just be a nothing at that point.
And the end of the conversation
From what we did
was, I would love for us to find a happy medium because I feel like our accomplishments in today's societies don't necessarily lead to any advancements in our well-being as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just has to do with how do people make more money, make life easier, make people less needed, make machines more prevalent. So I just want to end the episode by saying, well, thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment, all that, so forth and so on. Boom.
Cheers.